the A12 and the condition of the A12 is will probably not be material in a shipping line or a shipper choosing to route their traffic elsewhere. I mean, it might be were the roads elsewhere, you know, fantastic and there are miles of empty carriageways, but I think it's a fact that anywhere in the UK, whichever port you use, there are traffic issues basically at every port.
Some are worse than others.
Yeah. Are you fundamentally satisfied with the performance of the A12 for your purposes at the moment, as it stands?
I mean, no, I wouldn't say we weren't satisfied. No, I mean we obviously, you know, want the whole sort of through transport chain via Felixstowe Harwich to be as free flowing as possible.
And it's not your experience now that it is free flowing. It's
not on neither the A12 nor the A14. It's not an issue though that, to be honest, that I think customers come to us particularly say, you know, God, you know, your roads are so much worse than anybody else's. I think amongst sort of the transport facility, there's a great deal of frustration with roads and the state of roads and congestion of roads generally. And I think that's very much true.
Yeah.
Why were you prepared to invest your own money in the A120 though, that last bit?
Because they couldn't have
Didn't have a choice.
Otherwise they were given no choice.
Yes, but I mean, it was to do with the planning permission because the government wanted to afford the road rather than you saying that this is a crappy road and turns people off coming to the potential port.
The A120 and the history, if you like, of Hutchison's commitments at the A120 and indeed our commitments on the rail cross country are a slight sorry tale in some ways. At the time we had, or the inquiries were being held onto Barside Bay and then Felixstowe South, the latest government white paper on transport was still being formulated. Now, this is an issue on where we have a slight disagreement with the Department for Transport, but that white paper was that the first government policy document that certainly said sort of expressly that port developers would be expected to fund surface access connections. Now, there's a debate we've been having, there's as I say, a disagreement perhaps with DFT over how long that policy existed before the white paper, and the whole concept of developer funding is not new.
It did, because I was at the SRA when the SRA negotiated with you at the planning inquiry to get the rail expenditure committed. And that's going back about 4 years, I think.
It is,
5 years.
But it's not long before then, and possibly within your time with the SRA as well, in that the gauge enhancement out of Felixstowe via the Great Eastern Line and North London was funded entirely by the SRA, Department for Transport, whomever. And to one extent we were lucky in that one, because that seems to be the last significant upgrade to surface access to ports that was got through before the shutters came down to an extent, and thereafter developer contributions were required. I know Southampton have been frustrated because they are still hoping for a similar upgrade,
which will be
to
TIF
gauge
funded.
clear, which is being TIF funded now, but to which they've been required to contribute.
But because that development didn't go forward, there wasn't the vehicle for leveraging the contribution as there was at Barside Bay.
That's right, there wasn't. But we've had, I mean, Port of Felixstowe has been developed in a number of phases. I mean, we had distinct phases in sort of 1981, 1986, 1991, I think, 1996, 2004. And at each of those phases, there was again an opportunity to leverage funding, but it was never done. And over that period, you know, the A14 basically was built over that period. The Orwell Bridge was built over that period. The Felixstowe branch line was enhanced and re-signalled over that period, which doubled the capacity on the branch line. None of those events was any funding sought from the developer, or indeed nowhere else.
I think the ex-civil servant in me says, but policy evolves.
He does.
But missed opportunity.
I'm getting on my hobby horse now about this, but one of the problems we have when you're talking about the A120, one of the disappointments that we have is that at the time that we were negotiating with the SRA over the rail upgrades out of Barside and Felixstowe and the Highways Agency out of Barside Bay principally, but also Felixstowe to an extent. The message we were getting from was quite clear that, you know, if you say policy has evolved, the rules have changed, the new rules are that developers are going to fund these things. We were the first people, we were a bit of a sort of a guinea pig, I think, on this. Hutchison took the view, and wishing to be, you know, play the game properly, and said to government, well, if these are the new rules, then we'll play by them, and indeed we wrote to the Secretary of State at the time, saying, in fact, you know, we're doing this on the condition and the understanding that subsequent port developments will be treated similarly. It's a matter of regret for us that subsequent port developments haven't been treated similarly, and some have been asked for no funding towards surface access, some have been asked for a certain amount of funding, and some have even received subsidies towards their own port.
What was required from you, if anything, in the latest consent on Felixstowe South?
The latest consent being we had a consent in March this year for the Section 73 variation to the 106, the original consent. Basically, no change to the total quantum of work done, but what did change was the timing of some of that work. So some of the road works has come forward and some of the rail work has gone back a little bit, but the overall obligations stay the same.